Hello, welcome back everybody. Finally got my first John Deere garden tractor, model 420. I've been wanting a 420 and a 430 for a long time now, and it seems like every time I save up money for a 430, I'm always finding other garden tractors I've been buying, and I just never get enough money saved up to find one that I want in the right condition for the right price. So 420 was another one I wanted, and I sold some Cub Cadet parts to a guy last year that said he had one he was willing to sell, and I went over and took a look at it. This is really nice shape, and he gave me a pretty good deal on it, so can't complain. So I'm excited. Finally got a 420. Like I said, next is going to be a 430 in the future, but for now I'm just going to talk a little bit about the 420 and a little bit of overview on these tractors. So the 420 replaced the John Deere 400 model. 420 came out in 1983 and it ran till 1981, so 9-year production on these tractors. Tires on the 420, fronts 18 by 8 5x8s. The rears were 26 by 12x12s. Some of the options for the John Deere 420 was category 0 3-point hitch that would go right in there, and an optional 2000 RPM rear PTO. He said he thinks he has the hitch arms for this laying around somewhere. He just has to find them. That'd be great, because I definitely want to put a 3-point hitch on here to plow with this tractor, etc. In 1992, when they replaced this model, they went to a 540 RPM PTO instead of the 2000. So that was a pretty good upgrade with the next series of tractors. Talking a little bit more about this, this one here is missing the front headlight lens. I have that on order. You can still get it through Deere. That should be here. I thought it was going to be here today, maybe by mid next week, but it's not a big deal. After time, the plastic on these are just like car headlights of today. They tend to fade and yellow out, and they don't look very good. So since it's missing, I'm going to put a new lens on there along with LED headlights. Some of the other options on the 420 were you had 2 front remotes. That was a pretty big deal back in them days. Looking at the dash on these, for the John Deere garden tractors, they were pretty sleek and, you know, almost ahead of the times for the future. It gave you some pretty much idiot lights to let you know front and rear PTO, etc. This does not have the original steering wheel on it. Someone replaced it, but I do have one of them coming as well that I found for parts, and I am going to put a seat on this. Talking a little bit about the engine, 420 came with a 20 horsepower Onan engine. Now the early models, 1983, they came with B48Gs. The B48G ran through, from what I could tell, it was mid 1987, somewhere in there. They changed to the Onan P220, and the upgrade on that pretty much was they have an electronic ignition. They upgraded that a little bit. I think it was serial number 420001 and greater. Your tractor will have the Onan P220 in it. One other thing they did on these tractors, on the garden tractors of John Deere in the 80s, was it was early to mid 1988, they started powder coating the tractors. Now, powder coating is pretty durable, but a lot of guys prefer the paint. Unfortunately, this model here is a 1989 model year, so I do have the powder coating. The powder coating on this tractor's held up extremely well from a lot of the other ones I've seen, but the problem with the powder coating is it'll start to flake off, especially around the fender pans here, where your feet go, and it's just not very pleasant. And when it starts to peel, it usually peels off in giant sheets, and that's why a lot of guys prefer the paint over the powder coating. So the 420 replaced model 400, and then after the 420 was done in 1991, the next tractor lineup came the other 400 series, which would have been similar, like a 425 that would have replaced the 420. This tractor here weighs in, I believe it's like just under 1,000 pounds, 993 pounds. So it was definitely a heavy, well-built garden tractor. They came with turning brakes on them from the factory, along with a high and low transmission, And what I really like about the 420s and 430s is you have a differential lock. So that's pretty cool there. Underneath the tractor, they do have a the PTO runs into a drive shaft, which goes into the mower deck with a gearbox, so it's not belt driven. I do have a mower deck for this, but it was buried and he couldn't really get it out quite yet, so I told him it wasn't a big deal. The main thing was I wanted to get the tractor home and get working on it and get it running. One thing I do have to do to this is the gas in this thing's been sitting for 4 or 5 years, and just sitting in the garage you can smell what gas that was left in it. In the tank is extremely, just, it smells, it's all varnished up. So what I have to do is take this whole fender pan off. I'm gonna drain the fuel tank, try to clean it out, and then I was looking around in here, all these fuel lines are pretty old, they're stiff, so I'm just gonna go ahead while I have that off, and I'm gonna run all new fuel lines in the tractor since I have it off, and try to clean it up good and get it running. One thing I did like about Deere is they put an hour meter on their tractors, but they put it here on the side. This tractor shows 1,344 hours. Not bad. It's a little higher than I would have liked, but for this age of a tractor, it's still pretty low hours. I like how Deere put their hour meter there, and that saved room on the dash. They also had a larger area for a more amp capacity battery for greater starting. So here's an overlook of the John Deere 420. Like I said, guys, I'm gonna pull this pan off here hopefully in the next week, replace some fuel lines and try to get this running. And then I'm gonna like to do some videos on this. I'm also gonna replace the rear tires with some bar tread tires that I have. I may leave the fronts on here for now until I can figure out what I want to do. But I will be posting more videos on this and hopefully more Deere garden tractors in the future. So if you guys like garden tractor videos or tractor videos alike, be sure to subscribe and check back. Thanks for watching.